I'm joining you this morning from York, Maine, but I serve a small congregation in Midcoast, Maine, which meets in Damariscotta. And often on Sunday mornings, I invite them to be the choir, and you all did just as well as they all do every week. It was lovely to hear your voices. Our reading this morning comes to us from the wisdom of Fred Rogers, from his book, Life's Journeys, according to Mr. Rogers. I know how important it is to give up our expectations of perfection in any arena of our lives. I know I've tried hard, and yet every once in a while I'll entertain the old longing. Maybe I could make at least one perfect segment of a program, and I find myself in the trap again. That doesn't mean we can't produce some highly satisfying moments, both for ourselves and others, but it's important to give up, maybe daily, the longing to be perfect. Of course, I think we want it so strongly because we reason that if we are perfect, if we do a perfect job, we will be perfectly lovable. What a heavy burden. Thank God we don't have to earn every bit of love that comes our way. Our words from Fred. And may the words I offer you this morning and the meditations of my heart be of use to each and all of you as you journey through life. Thank God we don't have to earn every bit of love that comes our way. Isn't that a great reminder that love is a gift, not a reward? It comes to us unbidden in myriad ways. You don't have to be good, Mary Oliver writes in her familiar poem, Wild Geese. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Meanwhile, the world goes on. And love does come to us in the beauty of any and every given day, whether sunrise or rain, in the whisper of the wind, in bird song, in our neighbor's smile, or the gratitude from someone unknown to us. In this profoundly imperfect world, in our profoundly imperfect lives, love finds us. So, phew, we can put down that worry. We are lovable. But it is a thought-provoking idea that Mr. Rogers shares, that we neglect this truth, we forget. That we find ourselves wanting or needing to be perfect or do or create something perfect, motivated by the desire to be loved, not trusting or remembering that it is here regardless, but imagining that the time and effort we put into perfection is a necessary precursor to earning it, forgetting the very gift of it. I've been wondering lately about this whole idea of perfection, of what makes us want to be good at things, or not just good, but great at things, even the best at things. I am the best golfer. No, we hear it a lot these days, right, in the media. I'm the best. My administration did the most. I'm the most successful person ever. I have the best water. And I am the best golfer. Now, I'm guessing who comes first to mind for you, but in fact, the practice of best is everywhere. And hyperbole aside, the idea of best, most, longest, highest, to me seems exhausting. And I wonder, what does it serve? It is in the nature of this competitive culture we live in to compare and to push ourselves to be the fastest runner, the fastest walker, the fastest swimmer, to bake the best apple pie, to win the spelling bee, or finish the crossword puzzle before Sunday night. We give all kinds of prizes in this country for being the smartest, for being the most innovative, the most creative, the most beautiful. We measure each other's worth in height, in weight, in ability, in color, in everything. Is it hubris that pushes us? or fear. This need, this desire that we all share to be something or create something amazing, such that good is never really good enough. When my first child was born, my mother-in-law sent me a book called The Good Enough Parent. Anybody familiar with that one? I think I was too young and new to parenting to understand how helpful it might have been if I'd actually read it. But at the time, I thought, I didn't want to be just good enough. Why was she sending me this book? I wanted to be a great parent, an excellent parent, a perfect parent. Silly me. Those of us who have tried no doubt recognize how impossible it is to achieve this particular goal in this particular endeavor. You simply can't buy enough organic things. You can't practice the best forms of encouragement or discipline. You can't do everything perfectly enough to protect your child from pain or from accident or from failure even. And yet the desire is a good example for us of the tension we hold between demanding of ourselves that we must be as perfect as possible and allowing ourselves to be and accepting ourselves as good enough. After all, who wouldn't want to be a better parent? Who wouldn't want to be better at any relationship, for that matter? But it's the why that is challenging me. What is it we're really struggling with? What's wrong with imperfect when we humans are, by definition, imperfect? I wonder if any of you are familiar with this story about the two women walking down a city street, and one stops suddenly and says, "Did you hear that cricket?" And the other replies, "What are you talking about? We are on a busy city street. There's no cricket." "No, there is. Look, I'll show you." And they run across the street. And underneath the nearest shrub, indeed, there's the cricket. "It all depends on what you're listening for," says the first woman. And the second is confused. "So watch," says the first, and she takes several coins out of her pocket and drops them on the ground, at which point everyone within 3 blocks turns around to see where the money fell on the sidewalk. What are we listening for in our quest for perfection? Is it just love? Or maybe actually some element of control? If we're stronger or better or best, can we control the bad things? Can we avoid them altogether? Silly us. Most of us know that perfect is an aspiration. It's not a reality. It's not really a destination we'll arrive at. Atul Gawande reminds us in his book, Being Mortal, that to be human is to be limited. But that's nothing we especially want to hear. In fact, we work really hard to avoid that reality. We work really hard at all kinds of things in order to stave off our limits. A colleague of mine years ago had a picture on his wall of a teacup, a beautiful teacup, and underneath was the inscription, "I know this cup is already broken, so I love it immensely." I know this cup is already broken, so I love it immensely. It's a very Buddhist message, acknowledging impermanence and brokenness as a part of our human experience. But in this culture, we are more comfortable with the whole cup, not the broken one. I wonder if you are familiar, any of you, with the Japanese practice of kitsuge. Broken vessels are mended with gold, made more beautiful for their flaws. Peter Mayer, who we often hear singing in our Unitarian Universalist environments, sings of this idea, "I'm like one of those Japanese bowls that were made long ago. I have some cracks in me that have been filled with gold." That's what they used back then when they had a bowl to mend. It didn't hide the cracks. It made them shine instead. If we could see our way to the appreciation of our flaws and our limits? Might we be able to forgive the imperfect in ourselves, and even more so in our lives as a whole? If we learned to notice the every and all miracles of any given moment, to put a dot on a page and sign your name, to appreciate someone else's squiggle, might good be enough, at least on occasion? Because perfect won't actually save us from anything. Cassandra mentioned earlier, or maybe it was Jane, that we are in a tough time right now, and we are headed into what might be considered a worrisome summer and fall. The world is full of woes, and we are limited in our ability to fix them. We're concerned about all these issues on top of the personal challenges we each face, financial issues or health issues, any risk to our sense of well-being. And it's very easy to get caught up in the imperfection of it all and to miss the beauty. The astronauts, years ago, when they first started going far enough into space to see our Earth through the window, discovered something they called the overview effect. Wikipedia shares with us the most prominent common aspects of personally experiencing the Earth from space are appreciation and perception of beauty, unexpected and even overwhelming emotion, and an increased sense of connection to other people and the Earth as a whole. The effect can cause changes in the observer's self-concept and value system and can be transformative. Imagine if we each took the time to back up from the details of our living, the ones that annoy us or disappoint us or frustrate us, that confuse us and upset us, if we got back from them far enough to witness the larger whole that in its perfection is actually quite beautiful. Not despite the imperfections, not because of them either, but just letting them be. How might we be transformed enough to understand, to experience the beauty of this gift we call life, and to sit content with it? I was getting onto an elevator a few years ago while visiting Newbridge on the Charles. My parents-in-law were thinking of moving into this lovely continuous care community. And there was a woman on the elevator with me who I asked, "Are you happy here?" And she told me she had just moved in, and she knew it was where she needed to be. So if not happy, she was content. And to me, it felt she was both aware of her needs and aware of what she needed to manage them, and at peace with that. So as this summer begins, friends, with all its worries and all its imperfections, I hope we're each and all able to step back on occasion, to appreciate the whole cup, even the broken parts, to accept the beauty where we find it, and to allow ourselves to be at peace with our own limits, if not always entirely happy about them, but knowing that we are loved regardless, and remembering the words of our dear Meg Barnhouse from our opening words this morning, that here, each contributes in their way to the beauty of the whole, and it is enormous beauty, just so. And may it be so, friends. Amen.